Today's event is organized by the European Innovation Council and SMEs Executive Agency, ESMEA, and I'm Daniel Ugarte, I'm Program Coordinator in the unit responsible for launching this call in ESMEA. I will be your moderator for today's event. Thank you for joining us from all over Europe and beyond. We are really pleased to have you with us. Let me please remind here that all European Union member states and so-called third countries participating in the Single Market Programme, plus those that have started negotiating the participation in the SMP by the submission date of the applications, are eligible to apply to this call for proposal. This call document contains a link to an overview of the third country situation. And we will also specify which countries can participate and which cannot in the call for proposals. During today's events, we will hear shortly from 4 speakers from the European Commission, the European Innovation Council and SMEs Executive Agency, and the Research Executive Agency, REA. We will be hearing in much more detail from those who run the program about how the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program works and how you can become involved as an intermediate organization. There will be plenty of time at the end of the presentations for you to ask questions of the various speakers. Well, actually, you can submit your questions now, and we will answer them in the question and answer session at the end of all the presentations. Also, there will be one 5-minute comfort break at around 11. The main objectives of today's sessions are to set out clearly how the program works and what the core provisions are, to ensure that this event contributes to the scaling up of the program by bringing on board more matches per year, all in line with the European Union overarching goals of making business greener, more digital, and more resilient. To work towards selecting the most committed and best placed organizations, remembering that selection is by competition, which means that the intermediate organizations selected will be the organizations of excellence fully committed to delivering the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program for the next years. But before we move to the first presentation, I would like to raise some housekeeping points. First, we are using the WebEx platform for the presentations and Slido for the question and answer part. You cannot turn on your microphone and camera, as they are switched off by default. The meeting is recorded. A link to the recording will be available on the ESMEA Call website after the event. If you do not wish your name to appear in the recording, please make sure to submit your question in Slido as anonymous. You will be able to ask questions to all our speakers. To do this, please use the Slido using the hashtag #IJunior, Echo, Yankee, Echo, Juliet, Romeo. We will get to your questions at the question and answer session at the end of the event. So please feel free to submit your questions at any time from now on. But should you have questions after today's event, you can also send us by email to the email address indicated in the call document, and that will be displayed on the screen at the end of the session. All the questions and answers will be published at the Funding and Tenders portal in the specific part of the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs Junior call. Detailed instructions will also be given at the end. And just to start the session well, let's watch together a short video setting our scene for today's meeting. We will get there.
Business idea, and you've worked hard on creating a business plan. You've taken the first steps to turn your dream into reality. But let's face it, navigating the world of business requires many different skills. You could probably use some hands-on advice from an experienced entrepreneur to discover how things are done at a more mature company. The Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program might be just what you're looking for. It offers starting entrepreneurs the possibility to travel to one of over 40 participating countries and to work up to 6 months together with an experienced hosting entrepreneur. During this exchange, both of you will discover new ways of growing your own businesses in an international environment. There is no age limit. All starting entrepreneurs from participating countries with a concrete business plan can apply. Are you on the other side of the partnership and you want to host starting entrepreneurs? If you've run a successful business for 3 years or more, you can apply to become a host. We've established over 10,000 partnerships with over 170 contact points in the past 11 years. So, it's a unique chance to expand your network and seize new opportunities abroad. The program is funded by the European Union, which will partly cover the costs of your stay abroad. To participate, check out erasmus-entrepreneurs.eu and get in touch with the local contact point in your country. Expand your horizons. Don't wait any longer. New business opportunities are awaiting.
Well, thanks for the video. Now I'm very pleased to introduce our first speaker. She's Katerina Nedlova, the team leader of Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program at the European Commission, DG Grow. Katerina, the floor is yours.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you very much, Daniel. I'm very pleased to be able to introduce you to the program. You've seen already a short video, very explanatory, but let's go into a bit more details about the program. Can I please ask the colleagues to start my presentation? So let's see what is actually Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs. If you go to the next slide, it is actually a program of the European Union that helps providing aspiring European entrepreneurs with skills necessary to start or successfully run a small business in Europe. While new entrepreneurs gather and exchange knowledge, experience, business ideas, how to start a company, how to further run a company, by exchanging with host entrepreneur for a period between 1 to 6 months, and all this abroad. The program partially co-finances the new entrepreneur going on exchange. Next slide, please. Who can participate? On the next slide, you'll see that actually the countries, we already received some questions. We welcome in the program all entrepreneurs from 27 member states and some other countries who decided to participate in European Single Market Program. Currently, those countries are listed below. The program doesn't have whatsoever any sector limit, and we have exchanges from service to bakeries to high-tech entrepreneurs. So there is absolutely no sector limits, and there is also no age limit. Anybody who is older than 18 can participate. We do have entrepreneurs in their 60s who we call new entrepreneurs and who have the wish and willingness to start a business and can participate in our program. Let's go to the next slide and see what are the benefits, or who are the two main actors in the program. On one hand side are the new entrepreneurs. I have already mentioned this, who they are. For us, they are either would-be entrepreneurs, so somebody who is firmly thinking about starting a business and has this, his business idea is described in a business plan. Or a new entrepreneur for us is somebody who already started a business, but less than 3 years ago. So he's already running a business, but less than 3 years. As mentioned, whether it's only an idea or already a business, it can be in any sector. On the other hand side, we have the host entrepreneurs. They are successful, experienced entrepreneurs running a company for more than 3 years. Host entrepreneur can be also manager of a company, but he has to have a direct involvement in running the company. What we usually say is if his decisions have financial impact on the company, this is somebody we accept as a host entrepreneur as well. So this is about the two sides. On the next slide, we will see what the benefits of participating in the program are. It is clearly a win-win deal for both new and host entrepreneurs. So what can the new entrepreneur learn and gain from participating in this program? This is probably a bit more clear. They obviously get an on-the-job training in a host company abroad. They develop entrepreneurial skills. They gain business knowledge, networks, and of course they gain experience in managing a small business together while being together with direct collaboration with host entrepreneur. And we co-finance them. So the EU is co-financing their exchange. On the other hand side, we have host entrepreneurs. We don't co-finance host entrepreneurs. And this is what we hear from them, what the benefits are. They are very much valuing the fact that they get fresh perspective and ideas and fresh skills. So if they have a new entrepreneur coming to their company, he's able to look at his business with different eyes and say, well, why don't you do things differently? The other very important for host entrepreneurs is that they get knowledge about foreign market opportunities. They probably do their business locally and they would like to grow to other markets. And this brings them a person from another country who can help them to explain how the market in his home country works. Last but not least, of course, it's also about networking opportunities and potential long-term business partnership. Next slide. On the next slide, you see the other actors in the program. So we have spoken about the two entrepreneurs, but there are also other actors. The backbone of the running of the program are so-called intermediary organizations. And this call is actually looking for those. Who they are? They are organizations that actually implement the program on a local level, so in the regions. Currently, we have more than 160 in 35 countries. What is important to say is entrepreneurs from previously mentioned countries can participate in the program even if there is no intermediary organization in their country. They can still participate, but obviously the benefit of having intermediary organization in the region or in the country is big because they can promote. Now I come to the task, what actually the intermediary organization tasks are. They promote the program on their level, they recruit, match entrepreneur, they pay the EU contribution to new entrepreneurs. They also support entrepreneurs on their exchange, and they also give us the feedback from the exchange, how things worked. We still have one more actor in the program. This is a support office. This is a body which deals with day-to-day management of the program and acts as a help desk for applicants, promotes the program on European level as well. Next slide, please. Let's have a look how the program actually works in practice. On the next slide, you'll see that it is actually very simple. There are just 5 steps. Everything is digital, so there is no paperwork and there are no deadlines. If somebody decides to apply for the program, he can do anytime on our webpage. Let's go a bit more into details of those 5 steps. Let's start on the next page with online application. What is needed for online application? For new entrepreneur, he has to prepare a business plan, CV, and has to prepare a paragraph of his motivation, why he wants to participate. As far as the business plan, it doesn't have to be a fully fledged business plan of number of pages that one would need to get a loan from a bank. It has to be a document which shows us that somebody is firmly thinking about starting a business. So it has to have the basic elements to show us that there is a real wish to start. He needs to know where he wants to open his company. He needs to see what money he will be needing, when he can start gaining money, how the business will be run, will he have any collaborators or not, and so on and so forth. During his presentation, during the application process, the new entrepreneur will also choose will put the preferences. He will tell us which countries he's interested in, when he's available for an exchange, how long the exchange he wants to take, and so on and so forth. These are criteria which will later help the system propose matches, but they're absolutely not binding. So if I, at the first phase, select that I want to go to Spain in June, and then at the end go to Croatia in September, it doesn't matter. It's just for the system to understand, to be able to give best matches on the basis of those criteria. And of course, those criteria can be also changed by the entrepreneurs later. On the other hand side, host entrepreneur who is interested in the program can apply from his side. We are requiring a CV and also motivation, why he wants to participate. What will be the added value for him? During this process of filling in online application, both entrepreneurs also have to choose intermediary organization, which will help them to participate in the program, which will approve their application and help them to find a match. So once this is done, the application is submitted, we can go to the next step when the intermediary organization actually checks the application, checks that the eligibility criteria which were just mentioned and all the documents have been submitted, and in usual situation approves the application. From that moment on, the entrepreneurs have access to our vast database of entrepreneurs available to match. So new entrepreneur will get access to all host entrepreneurs available for matching from other countries participating in the program except of his. For host entrepreneurs, it's similar. He will get access once accepted to new entrepreneurs from all other countries than his own. How does the matching work? So the entrepreneurs, once they have access, they can search themselves on the basis of criteria, again, they put in the system. The intermediary organizations also can help with this. And actually, in most cases, it's the exchange is being established by the support with intermediary organization. Usually, the intermediary organization will have a talk with the entrepreneurs to more understand what the entrepreneur is looking for, and will then approach the network or look in the database and propose matches to the entrepreneur. There is also a third option, which I already mentioned. The system, on the basis of given criteria in the application process, will be able to propose matches to entrepreneurs. We also do have situations when actually two entrepreneurs already apply to the program while knowing that they want to go on an exchange. This is possible. However, we support exchanges of two people who never had previous business collaboration together. So if a new entrepreneur already worked for the host entrepreneur and now want to sort of benefit from the that we would not support. But if a new entrepreneur met host entrepreneur at a fair and they agree that actually it might be a good idea to further collaborate and that they can learn from each other, that would be something we would be able to support, and both of them can apply and they can match and go on exchange. Let's go to the next phase, which is contracting and preparing. Once the two entrepreneurs actually agree that they think there is a benefit for both of them to collaborate, they start negotiating on the duration, objective, and content of the exchange. They will prepare something which is called commitment, which will outline the activity plan of the exchange, and it will clearly stipulate what will be the benefits for the new entrepreneur and for the host entrepreneur. What is extremely important to understand here, this program is not about traineeship. We don't have a new entrepreneur coming to work for the host entrepreneur. This is a peer-to-peer exchange on the same level, and it is very important, and it is being checked, and it's by the Intermediary Organisation and by the Commission as well. Once the entrepreneurs agree on the content of the exchange, a new entrepreneur receives pre-departure induction training, receives first part of the grant from the EU, and off he can go for his exchange. The next steps is the stay abroad. I mentioned, this is on the next slide, please. The duration of the exchange, I've already mentioned, can be between 1 to 6 months. In some cases, only 3 months. This is in case when a new entrepreneur is traveling to destinations outside of Europe. And within this call, we allow new entrepreneurs, as long as we will have an intermediary organization, to travel to for an exchange to Canada, USA, and Singapore. During the exchange, the new entrepreneur is collaborating with the host entrepreneur. It's on-the-job, peer-to-peer exchange, training, working on a concrete project according to the agreed plan. On-site support is provided to new entrepreneur by the host intermediary organization. And the entrepreneurs are also being asked to report about the exchange. We usually would like to hear within the first month if all things go well, that there are no issues, and if there are issues, we try to, of course, solve them. Then during the exchange, we also would like to hear how things are. We would encourage people to, for example, record blogs, send us pictures, so we can promote their exchange. The next step of the exchange is feedback and payment. Once the new entrepreneur finishes his exchange, he comes back. We ask both entrepreneurs to give us a feedback on the exchange, on the stay, on the benefits. After submitting the feedback, the new entrepreneur receives final payment from the European Commission, and if the host entrepreneur is willing and interested, he can be reinserted to the database and host again. For the new entrepreneur, unfortunately, the chance to participate in the program is only once. Host entrepreneur can become a multiple host and host more time. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is a map which should show us where do we have our matches, where did we have them so far. You see Europe, we have also few exchanges we had already in outside Europe destination. Let's go to the next slide, please. I have mentioned that we co-finance from the EU money the new entrepreneurs going abroad. Here you see the rates per month according to the country where the new entrepreneur goes. So let's choose, I am a Croatian entrepreneur and I go to France. So I would be entitled for 950 euros per month of exchange. So if I go to 3 months, this would be multiplied by 3. If I go to 6 months, this would be multiplied by 6. We also think about countries linked to EU, so outermost regions of the EU and overseas territories, plus entrepreneurs with disabilities, they do receive the maximum allowance. So if an entrepreneur from outermost region goes to Romania, he would not receive the allowance for Romania, but he would receive the maximum allowance, which is 1,200 euros. Next slide, please. Let's talk a bit about the key achievements of the program. You'll see them on the next slide. We are celebrating 15 years of this program. On the next slide, we will see some of our numbers, which you may notice are a bit different from the video. So we have already reached over 12,000 exchanges, which means we have involved over 24,000 entrepreneurs in an exchange. So over 24,000 entrepreneurs have benefited from our program. And the reach we have is very wide. We have reached over to 40 countries. Last year has been a record-breaking year for us as far as applications. We have received over 5,000 applications to the program. And we are very proud to say that the program is being considered as very successful by the participating entrepreneurs. 97% of our participants claim that their exchange has been successful. I also would like to mention another point, which is that 20% of the host entrepreneurs plan to set up some kind of joint business activity with their new entrepreneur. And 92% of new entrepreneurs, or the entrepreneurs who are in exchange, actually stay in touch also after their exchange. So this was some numbers about DI and their success. Let's go to the next slide. What are our achievements? I'm not going to talk about all, but this program is addressing unemployment, and not only youth unemployment. It is open also to unemployed people who can sort of get the skills, get the knowledge to start a company. We do deliver really entrepreneurship education. We offer support and strengthen single market connection. We do create new businesses. We encourage resilient companies, business development and innovation. And we do also contribute by the exchanges to green and digital transformation of SMEs. The next slide, please. Now, where you can find more information about the program, the basic information. On the next slide, you'll see the website of the program, which includes also a place to apply. And we also have social media, so please do link with us, follow for any news you may be interested in. And with this, I hand over to Daniel. Thank you very much for your attention. And of course, I stay available for any questions after the presentations.
Many thanks, Katerina, for your presentation. Indeed, if you have any questions, please insert them in Slido now. You have the QR code on your screen, and we will answer at the Q&A session at the end of the presentations. So now I'm very pleased to welcome the Program Coordinator Manager from the European Innovation Council and SMEs Executive Agency from ISMEA, my dear colleague Ralph Distelhorn. Ralph, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you, Katarzyna, for the introduction to the program, how it works. Welcome, good morning to the audience. I'm very happy to see so many connected today. It's a very good sign that you're all interested in our program and in this call in particular. So now you have understood most likely everything about how the program works, what it is about, how happy the participants in general are, and our objective is to keep that going and to build on that success also for the next couple of years. And for that, we want to recruit the best intermediary organizations. So here's a little order of events. What we do in this short session is to elaborate a little bit on the objective of the call for proposals, some core provisions that are essential for you to be aware of, and then also the not to be undermined essential knowledge on how to apply, what to do, which documents to submit, how to fill them, etc. So we're very happy to guide you through it. And I would say, let's get started. We distinguish between the general objectives and specific objectives. When we move to the general objectives, I think we've basically already covered them with the presentation so far. If we move on with the slide, we'll see that our call intends basically to strengthen the network of intermediary organizations that is currently in place, but which will not be forever in place. So in a nutshell, to put you in the loop, also because we are aware that there are quite a number of new entities that have registered for this info session today. So not all of you connected have certain experience. So it's important for you to know that we have a number of projects ongoing and we are available. So the program is available with its local contact points in many countries in Europe. These projects at some stage will come to an end, and so the objective of the call for proposal is always to look for new organizations, we call them the intermediary organizations, to reinforce our network of local contact points to which the entrepreneurs can access and ask about the program. We organize this we organize the work of these intermediate organizations in transnational consortia. And the core activity is recruiting and matching new entrepreneurs with host entrepreneurs in Europe and beyond. We come to that in a moment. So in terms of figures, this call for proposals with a budget of 5 million that we have available intends to, I would say, select about 5 projects, and that would mean, in our estimation, that would mean about 30 intermediate organizations that regroup together in transnational consortia. That is the objective of these call for proposals. Let's move on. More specifically, let's look at what it means in terms of content. What we want is that intermediate organizations, by their mandate of being a business organization, a business support organization, contribute to making Europe more entrepreneurial. The raison d'être basically of the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program is to offer a business opportunity for those that have set up their business or those that are reflecting to do so beyond their borders, and to learn from experienced entrepreneurs. And as such, we can contribute to closing the gap to other regions in the world that are more entrepreneurial than Europe in itself. How do we do that? We ask our kind of local contact points to do, in fact, 5 things. To provide on-the-job training for NEs, so for our new entrepreneurs, with HEs to facilitate a successful startup, or to develop the business ideas. That means for both, developing the business idea further of those that have experience, so the host entrepreneurs, and also of the newly created businesses from new entrepreneurs. We want you to foster sharing of experience and information between entrepreneurs on the obstacles and challenges of starting up and of developing their business. We also want you to engage with our entrepreneurs in order to enhance their market access, but also for the host entrepreneurs, because if a host entrepreneur has been in operation for a while, a new entrepreneur is the perfect fit in order to tap into new markets that this host entrepreneur might never have even thought about. We then want you to support the entrepreneurs networking, and that in different countries, of course, and there above all, building on knowledge and experience that they have gained and that you are able to offer them as part of your professional experience. When we look at the last one, this is one that is quite dear to the EU and is a bit more specific. We're looking above all the program to contribute to making Europe more sustainable, digital, and resilient. So we're looking for entrepreneurs that, and we are basically convinced that given the times that we're living in, that any entrepreneur basically needs to think about how the business can be run digitally, how it can contribute to sustainability, so reducing the carbon footprint and be some sort of green, and how it can contribute to a resilient economy. These are specific objectives. First slide, let's move on. And then we see that the expected outcome of the previous sort of enumeration of activities is that we want to develop a network of new entrepreneurs, host entrepreneurs, and intermediary organizations to stay in contact also beyond the exchange itself. We want to enable new entrepreneurs to work alongside and learn from host entrepreneurs in other countries. So that is the objective, is to facilitate the matching between the two. We want to support the creation of new businesses, obviously, making the link to my earlier comment of rendering Europe more entrepreneurial. We can, and there I'm with Katarzyna from her previous presentation, we can create, or we can contribute to creating more joint ventures and spin-off companies, and in general foster cross-border business cooperation. We also aim at enhancing the international activities and, of course, the innovation potential of host entrepreneurs, of both new and host, but host entrepreneurs in particular. And in terms of targets, and this is the call specific indicator, we expect that a minimum of 150 entrepreneurs are matched by each consortium. So that means at project level. That is a minimum indicator that a project as such has to fulfill. And in our application forms, we ask you to fill the targets per partner as well. So this is to be reflected and thought through very well on your side, which partner you want to get on board, which economic sectors you want to cover. In general, it's open to anyone, as you heard, but you might want to tailor your project to some specific, either women entrepreneurs or deep tech or more traditional businesses or social enterprises, and to facilitate matching in those areas. So then this is the consortium mandate, and you have to back it up with a strategy in order to arrive to your targets. Let's move on. When we talk about the targets, of course, we have groups in mind. I just mentioned some of them already. We have here to distinguish between those that you must basically address and some others that you might wish to address. And I think it's quite interesting. Coming back to sustainable green and digital business models, it is part of our European strategy to render Europe more modern in a way and to make it fit for the future. In that respect, we also encourage strongly female entrepreneurs to be part of the program. We have excellent stories between female and female entrepreneurs, between female and male entrepreneurs, but we are lacking a little bit, in particular, female host entrepreneurs. So if you want to have if you believe that you could tap in this pool of female entrepreneurs, especially those that have a certain experience as host entrepreneurs, and they would be ready to give something to the program, this would be very much appreciated and fully in line with the call objectives. Optional target group are those that are, as it is mentioned in the word itself, are not a must, but they are encouraged to be included as well. Here we distinguish between basically two. You can focus on certain regions or countries in your proposal. We have specified in the call text countries that are currently, based on statistical data that we gathered, that are currently underrepresented in the program, meaning that a certain percentage of entrepreneurs from that country has never participated in EYE, and EYE has always been a tool for European integration and for covering business opportunities in as many corners of Europe as possible. And Europe in this is here used in the large sense, meaning in the single market program. So all countries that have signed an agreement with the European Commission to participate in this particular business promotion program. You're not obliged, as I said, to include those countries. But if you have a look at the list of countries that we stipulated in the call, it might be quite interesting for you to include a partner or two in order to tap into those entrepreneurs and also to give entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs from those countries the chance to be connected to the European Union. Another optional target group is, and that is really new, completely new, are entrepreneurs that are outside Europe and are outside the current countries covered by the single market program. This builds on experience made by the European Commission in the last couple of years implementing so-called EYE Global, a pilot project that turned into preparatory action and which finished in March this year. And this call aims at including some destinations for SMP-NEs. I will make it clearer in a second, to go abroad, either to Canada, Singapore, the United Kingdom, or the United States of America. Now, you might say United Kingdom is Europe, so why do you quote it here? It is Europe in our understanding, indeed, but as it left the European Union and has not signed up to the single market program, it is not an SMP country. And as such, we consider this in a way a non-SMP or a global destination. So in essence, we give new projects the chance for the first time ever under the standard Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs project to cover destinations, to offer to new entrepreneurs from SMP countries the chance or the opportunity to go abroad to really new destinations. And this we do up to, as we've seen in the previous presentation, we offer up to 3 months. So here we need to distinguish, and we also ask you in the application form to distinguish between those. If you're interested in that, maybe you are an organization that has participated in the preparatory action that I just mentioned before and have gained some knowledge how to do that, you're more than welcome to share that knowledge and to get engaged. Be aware of the specific rules in terms of duration and the matching, and propose your strategy to match European entrepreneurial fellows to destinations outside Europe. When I talk about specific rules, please be aware of the one core document that guides you, that should guide you in understanding how the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program is implemented by intermediate organizations, and which guides you also through the whole project duration. This is the so-called quality manual. The quality manual, and I quote it here because we have specific rules, obviously, that are entailed in that document and nowhere else. So should you look for specific rules for matching to non-SMP countries in the call, you will not find much. It is rather in the quality manual where you can find it. Let's move on. Call provisions. This is about the selection process. Some deliverables which are part of the grant agreement. Some of them are mandatory, some others you can propose yourself. And then we come to some indicative financial provisions, just giving the financial overview of what this call entails. Later, there's a presentation on the financial management, much more detailed, and the focus of that presentation is quite different. So let's go into the selection process. What does it mean? You have understood by now what EYE is, what specific objectives, the general and specific objectives are, what we are looking for, which type of organizations. Let's have a look of how it works actually. We distinguish between admissibility, eligibility, exclusion, selection, award criteria, and here is what it means. There's a whole process behind. Let's move on the slide. You submit your proposal, please, by the 27th of June 2024 and no later than 5 p.m. Brussels time. The call was published on the 10th of April. We are ready to answer any questions that come in. The first ones went online already. We're working on a couple of others, and certainly as an outcome of this day today, of this info session today, we will have more information to share. If we can't answer it right away, we do that on the portal, on the Funding and Tenders portal after the event. There's only one way how to submit a proposal. Nowadays, obviously, it's electronically. No paper is expected nor accepted, and you must use the forms that are provided. And here, it's very important to distinguish. We have application forms that are embedded in the submission system. And we have also a form, a very important form that is outside the system available, but all together must be uploaded inside the submission system. So how does it work? Proposals must be complete and contain all the requested information and required annexes and potentially supporting documents. We don't ask many supporting documents. You will see this in a little moment. The core documents that we ask are three. The application form part A, it is to be filled online. It is in the submission form, in the submission tool. You provide some administrative data about the organizations, your addresses, etc., etc. You give a simplified budget, and that is it. In addition to that, we ask you to fill an application form part B. It is available as a separate document to be downloaded in the submission system. It's a Microsoft Word file. This is pre-structured for all call for proposals under the Single Market Program. And so that means that we have no technical means to tailor that to the specific needs of an I project. As I projects are, however, quite specific in terms of deliverables, indicators, ways of working, and outcomes, we have produced another document which is available on the eSMEA website, and this is the so-called Annex 5. If you asked me which document must be provided, you go to the application, you go to the submission system, you've got the two documents that are to be downloaded there, plus the online one, and then the Annex 5 is the core document that you must fill and submit. If this document is not, it is a mandatory, the call says clearly it's mandatory to submit it, and if it's not submitted, we might simply exclude you and we might consider the proposal not being admissible because it's not complete. We come to the content in a second. So that's about what you're supposed to work on when you want to submit a proposal. Let's move on. Who can participate in the call? In fact, any legal entity, public or private bodies, can participate in this call. They must be established in one of the eligible countries. Those, as we have already learned, are all the countries that are part of the Single Market Program. There's on the website of the European Commission's DG GROW, there is a list of countries that have joined the Single Market Program. We invite you, of course, to consult it. The link is available in the call text under the relevant section. And we're lucky, basically, because we are halfway through the current programming period, so there are not so many countries that have not signed an agreement to participate in the Single Market Program. But be aware that not all countries are part of the program, and so the call stipulates specific requirements as to the eligibility of entities. To quote one, the call clearly says that if a country has not joined the Single Market program yet, but at the moment of submission of an application, the country has started negotiations, the application as such can be considered as eligible. However, at the moment of grant signature, which you can calculate basically comes half a year later after the submission deadline, more or less, then the country must have joined, because otherwise there is no legal base to finance an organization that is not part of the program which intends to finance Erasmus for Entrepreneurs activities. So be aware of that. We have also provided a non-exhaustive list of the type of organizations. This is in section 6 of the call. These are Chamber of Commerce, Chamber of Crafts, business incubators, etc. And important is it's non-exhaustive, but we do observe that it's more or less over 15 years, the similar type of organizations that apply. Let's move on. Yeah, this is the exclusion criterion. You must confirm at the application stage that you're not in one of the situations which are specified in a specific section in the call. In essence, it means about that you're not bankrupt, not guilty of grave professional misconduct, you haven't committed fraud, etc., etc. We always hope that it will never happen, but you never know. So that you declare it upon submission of the proposal. You declare that you are clean on this front. Let's go to the next one then. This is the selection. We distinguish between a financial capacity and an operational capacity. Let's go first to the operational one. This is simply about your qualifications, the resources, the know-how that you have in order to implement the project. In essence, this means you need to tell us in the proposal why we should trust you, that you are the best partner for us in Europe to implement the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program. So it's all about your know-how and a kind of convincing story, and you need to back it up, obviously, by some data that we ask in the application forms to tell us why you're the best. The core activity, as I said already, of your organization must be to provide business support services to startups or young entrepreneurs. Again, whether you do that as kind of your organization does it every day, or is the sole purpose, or your organization does it as part of several services, this is not important to us, but you must document how your organization does it, and it must be clear that this is your core activity. Then we have a financial capacity. We expect you to have stable and sufficient resources. We verify this only at the grant preparation stage, so not at the application stage. But you need to be aware, if under this call you ask for a grant of estimated 1 million euro, you have seen it, you can ask for less, of course, you need to be able to finance it because you never know also about your partner's availability, your partner's situation. There might be some that will be because of the validation process of the assessment of the financial capacity from the EU side, which come with specific rules, the specific way we look at financial data. There might be the outcome of a proposal assessment that this or that organization needs to provide certain guarantees, etc. So be aware that stable and sufficient resources is very important criterion in order to run such a project. Next one. Then we talk about, in order to go into the appreciation of the content, what you provide us, we have so-called award criteria. And there are 3: relevance, quality, and impact. They're the same for the whole single market program. So you will see these criteria under each single market program call for proposals. But we have shaped them in this call to the real need of Erasmus for Entrepreneurs. We don't show it here in the slide, but you will see it in the section 9 of the call text. There are quite specific questions that you will find under each of these points. Quality criterion has, as you see, 60 points in total, so it's valued by us as the most important point together, and we distinguish here between two things: the project design and implementation. So what in fact is it that you propose to us and how you want to implement it. And here always be aware that this section must include above all also how you will use the guidance stipulated in the quality manual, because this is a mandatory way of implementing. But in this mandatory way of implementing, you always have, of course, your own way of doing it. And this is what we want to read from you. And then we have the second part of quality, which is the project team as such, and cooperation agreements you might have at local, regional, national level, or even beyond, to help you run the project. We will look favorable at any proposal that has an overall score of 70% and that reaches a 50% pass mark under each of the criteria: relevant, quality, and impact. As I said, for details, please check on the wording, the call text. I think if you take this seriously, you have a very nice guidance on what we expect you to give us as information in your proposal. And you will need, as I said earlier, you will need to give your convincing arguments to our external experts that help us evaluate your proposal, why the EU should finance your activity. Next slide, please. This is it in a nutshell. First, checking after the submission of your proposal the admissibility. We go to eligibility. We look at the exclusion criteria, selection criteria. Again, financial and operational capacity is the next step. And at the end, the evaluation experts will look at how good your proposal actually is in terms of quality. We will then establish a ranking. Let's say the best 5, the second best. I mean, the best, the second, the third. We might come to 5. We might come to 10 proposals, to 20. We don't know the outcome, which might lead also to creating a reserve list in the end. Why a reserve list? Because we might have 10 really good proposals, but we do not have sufficient budget, most likely, to finance those 10, except the 10 would all ask for only half of the maximum grant, which is likely not to happen. So be aware that your proposal could be very well evaluated, way above the 70% threshold, but we might not have sufficient budget in order to propose you a grant. So in other words, some other proposals might simply yet have been a bit better. And for that, we would then put you on a so-called reserve list, which would help us in case, the very rare case, but it might happen, one of the grant preparation with some higher ranked project would not lead to a successful grant signature. It might happen for whatever reason. Or the more likely one is that we get maybe a little bit of an additional budget. Don't hope here for too much, but it might happen in order to propose at some stage someone who's on the reserve list. We can now finance you because we received additional money, and we're happy to invite you to become part of I as well. That is behind. Now, when we talk about eligibility, I would like still to raise one point. It's a very important point. If you're interested in participating, make sure that you participate only in one proposal. Your organization, and not you personally as representing your organization and maybe being part of drafting a proposal, your organization as such cannot participate in more than one project. We have had this several times in the past. Should this happen, we exclude this organization from all the proposals that it participated on. So very briefly, when we get all the proposals, we'll make first a check of who has applied more than once. It's a very simple check. And all those will be regarded as ineligible. Now, that might be a pity for your organization, and especially a pity for you, because you have maybe invested actually quite a lot. And in fact, we had already cases where just someone else from the same organization, from a different department, also applied, and there was even no cooperation between the colleagues in the same organization. This should not happen, and as I said, it results in exclusion of your organization. But it has also a very, very potentially severe impact on the projects, on the remaining partners of the proposals where your organization was part of. Because if this organization that is excluded leads to non-eligible proposal, then the whole proposal is to be rejected. Meaning, for instance, the classical case is your organization is excluded from one proposal, but the proposal only proposed the minimum number of organizations stipulated in the call. That means if the proposal falls below that threshold, below that minimum, we cannot consider the proposal as a whole eligible, and the whole proposal will be regarded as ineligible. You can imagine the disappointment for many of the partners that were eager to team up, to contribute to Europe's entrepreneurial future. So this is my plea to you: make sure that this case does not happen, because we are very strict on that. Len, I think we're through this part, the stages of the selection process. Let's move on. Let's move to some contractual deliverables. What is that? We have certain reports because we give you money, so we expect that you report to us occasionally what you have achieved with that money. We have a certain number of meetings that we expect you to be part of it, and we have some other things such as success stories that we want to hear from you. Let's go there. Essential meetings to be attended during the implementation of an Erasmus project, and here we talk about 3 years implementation starting in February next year, are network meetings. The network meetings, and they happen twice a year, they're organized twice a year, usually that's the rule, and they are key meetings to be attended by all beneficiaries. All beneficiaries means every consortium partner must participate. Not necessarily always the same person. That is up to the consortium to see who to send. But in the 6 network meetings that are scheduled to take place during the implementation period of the projects financed under this call, we expect all beneficiaries financed under this call to be available there with one person. These meetings usually happen in Brussels, usually in autumn and in spring. They might also be organized in other premises in Europe. We do from time to time calls for expression of interest to host those organizations, to host those meetings for the whole network of about 150 organizations currently, then in one of the places where the intermediary organizations are active. And so you must foresee in your budget a sufficient amount to cater for those travel costs. These are international travels. We then have something else that we call the newcomers training, or the training for newcomers. This is usually separate from the network meetings, because the network meetings are meant to provide all intermediate organizations with an update on what is happening in the program, recalling some rules, exercising between organizations, that they share their best knowledge, how they practice this or that. And in order to contribute to that and benefit, you must have a basic understanding about how the program actually is implemented in detail. And for this, we offer for new projects or for new staff members, I think twice a year, not absolutely certain about that, but for sure, before a network meeting takes place, we offer after the project start a training for all those that are new, so that you come to the network meeting with a certain set of skills and understanding and know-how of the program. Then when we are through the implementation, let's say more or less halfway through, we look at the progress of each of the projects. We know it from the reports, but above all, we hope always we know it from being in close contact with you. And we can call projects for a so-called review meeting. That usually is organized when we see that a project is seriously underperforming. Because why do we do a review meeting then? Because we don't want to wait until the end. We want to give a tailored support to our projects in view of achieving the targets. Because achieving the targets, the 150 minimum, the minimum of 150 exchanges per project, the figure does not come from some, I mean, there's a certain reasoning behind, and it's also important for the program as a whole to progress. So these KPIs are to be taken seriously, and if you're not on track to reach them, we call you for a review meeting, and then we explore together how things can be improved. In such a case, it's not only the coordinator of the project to be invited. We want to talk to each organization and to explore what goes wrong, what could be improved, and actually maybe what has worked well for some, but hasn't maybe worked for others yet, or what can be shared, how you can learn from others. For such a meeting, we might bring in external expertise. That depends on the type of review meeting. Be aware about one thing: these meetings, so both the network meetings and the review meetings, are meetings that usually take place in person. For the training for newcomers, it's current practice is a bit different, because we need to work there also with an IT tool, and it's a bit difficult to organize that in person. So those are mostly remote, but we might also move into in-person meetings there. So be aware that means travel budget must be sufficient. Let's move on. Reports and others. Let me distinguish between two reports, between two types of reports. It's very simple. Reports on progress on the implementation of the project are not linked to a payment. Under this call, we expect two progress reports. A template for that will be available when the project starts. And those should be submitted in month number 10, covering the period of the first 9 months, and then in month number 28, covering the period from, I think, month number 19 to 27. We expect also once per year a deliverable on success stories, and here it's a minimum per year of implementation. Every organization should be able, for instance, to deliver 1 or 2 success stories. So 1 or 2 entrepreneurs successfully matched, for which you can provide a narrative, including a little part on good impact that was triggered by such an exchange. Those you submit to us after month number 12, 24, and at the end of the project after month number 36. These are very important for us because the program lives and the reputation of the program increases by telling how successful entrepreneurs have contributed to it. There is another type of report, and these are reports linked to a payment. Now, when you've read the call, you have seen that we do a pre-financing of 50% after the successful grant preparation. The grant is signed. Usually within 10 days, we send you a pre-financing. This is paid to the coordinator, and then the second payment is done after 18 months, or not directly after 18 months, but the period of months number 1 to 18 has to be covered when we ask you to send an interim report. This includes financial statements. For those financial statements, the organizations that are part of the consortium all need to contribute, because here we ask you which costs have occurred. This is independent. This is completely independent from the pre-financing. The pre-financing you get and you do with it whatever you want. The interim report asks you only about reimbursement. Here we reimburse the costs that have occurred. So this is the second payment. If we're happy with the report, we'll initiate a second payment, and this can go up to 40% of the maximum grant. So in fact, pre-financing and interim payment can go up both together up to 90%, and only the rest, the difference, you would need to finance until the final payment. And there I'm at the last bullet, the final technical implementation report. It's simply the final report at the end of the project. After completion of the 36 months, you have 60 days to submit a final report. The same procedure applies as the interim report. Every organization must tell us again which costs occurred. And following that, we do the final payment and the project is closed and paid. It might be that occasionally a specific reporting is suggested. Sometimes throughout the program implementation, we realize things have changed, the world has evolved. Take, for instance, the pandemic, COVID-19. Obviously, we asked all projects when the program almost came to a still stand, like about the situation. So this is something where we address then proactively to the projects, and we ask you then to give us some data so that we can assess the situation. We might also do that at individual project level. For instance, when we see that the project underperforms, we might ask you then to do an action plan and to provide us 2 months afterwards with an update. So this is a type of additional report, but don't be afraid. We will not ask that regularly. It is rather in exceptional circumstances. The reporting duties that you would have to cover are those that you see here on the slide. Next slide, please. The financial provisions that are part of our program are basically those that you have cost categories that are financed with 75%, and others. One other is financial support to new entrepreneurs, which is a must under this call, which is financed with up to 100%. Let's go there. Let's start with the financial support to third parties. Very complicated terminology. It means nothing else but the monthly allowances that you pay to new entrepreneurs. So here EYEJR pays up to 100% of financial support to third parties. This means that all the payments that you do to new entrepreneurs, as long as they are all documented and corrected and correctly encoded in the tool that we use for matching entrepreneurs, are eligible. We have sometimes payments that go a little bit beyond the maximum. Those we don't accept. If you remember about the first speaker's slide about the unit costs per country, yeah, for instance, the Polish entrepreneur going to Spain, receiving the country allowance that is valid for Spain, if you multiply that with 6 months, you will have a maximum, and that maximum cannot, we will not allow to go beyond that maximum. And here, after the unit costs for Erasmus for entrepreneurs were revised earlier this year, we have now a maximum of 7,200 euros per new entrepreneur for a maximum period of 6 months. If due to some calculations you arrive at a maximum that goes slightly beyond, be aware, you should not pay it. You should stick to the limitation. If you don't, and they ask us later at the interim or final report stage, you want to charge those, we will cut it, because this is simply not possible, because we have here the EU, even if the costs occurred, because we go against the call, the quality manual provisions, and we go against the unit cost decision. That was a decision made by the Commission for this program. So be aware of that. There is a second indicator here, a criterion which is very important. I already said that the budget for new entrepreneurs for the stays of new entrepreneurs abroad must be part of the project. And we want to see that 50% of the estimated maximum grant is reserved for new entrepreneurs. So please, if you're interested in this program and interested in submitting a proposal, make sure that all the costs that you calculate that are submitted in a way that they respect that half of the grant that you ask, not of the total cost, half of the grant, please, must be reserved for NEs. Now, we know that this is a bit a bet on the future because you cannot know in 2024 where exactly and exactly how many entrepreneurs you will be able to match in 2027, and above all, to which destinations to send them. So we are aware of that. This is why during the project implementation, we give you a flexibility to manage your NE budget in terms of destinations, people you want to recruit to benefit from the project, etc. But at the application stage, this is a must fulfill criterion. If you are below 50%, we might not exclude you, but we might ask you in the as part of the evaluation, if we consider that the project as a whole is good enough and we propose you to go into grant preparation, we might ask you then to reshuffle your budget so that your project fulfills the 50% criterion of any budget. All the other cost categories, travel, personnel, event organization, anything else, subcontracting, if you intend to, is financed with 75%. So this is the only cost category that for which we give 100% is the payments to new entrepreneurs. Let's move on. In fact, I think I just mentioned already most of the slide about financial support to third parties. I invite you to read carefully again the quality manual, which has in its annex 1 the unit costs, so the monthly allowances for new entrepreneurs. These are exactly the same as in the formal Commission decision from the 3rd of April, which was just preceding the publication of this call for proposals. And therein you find all the rates per country as were shown by my colleague on the previous presentation on one of the slides. Please be aware that when we ask you in the submission set we ask you to submit a detailed budget per partner, please be aware that the payments to the NEs that you foresee in your project, they must be budgeted also under the partner who will execute the payments. That you might think now, okay, that sounds quite logic, but occasionally we have a little variation, a deviation from that rule. The call also kind of has a paragraph on that, on the quality manual as well, because in some countries, NE grants, as we can also call them, or the monthly allowances to NEs are considered as income. And of course, as an income, some countries tend to tax it. And they do not always kind of reimburse the taxed amount at the end of the year to the people that were taxed. So basically, in some countries, NEs have to face simply participating in the program with lower rates than what the I program actually foresees. For that reason, sometimes the coordinator steps in and makes the payments, which is a deviation from the taxation in that country. But in such case, for instance, you will need to budget actually the payment also at the partner who actually executes it. Then the payments by one IO on behalf of another IO, as a consequence of what I just explained, are possible. the case I just mentioned is one specific case. You might have a particular situation where you want to justify it, and this can be approved on a case-by-case matter. In essence, if your reasoning and your proposed strategy makes sense and is in the benefit of the end user of the program, meaning the entrepreneur, in general, we tend to look favorably at that. Let's move on. The payments, I think I was already clear on that. Again, let's recap. You have a 50% pre-financing payment, an interim payment after the report is accepted, after, let's say, month number 20, 21, 22, 23, and the final payment after the project is closed. Next slide, please. So how do you apply and what do you use for that? Let's go. The application process is structured in 2 steps in a way. First of all participants need to create an EU login user account. You need to register your organization in the participants register. I'm very happy we have a colleague here on board today who will elaborate on this in a moment. So to make it clear for you what that means. And then you need to submit the proposal in 3 different parts. I've already elaborated on that previously. It's the part A, the part B, and annexes. Let's recap. Part A is the administrative information about the applicant organizations. This you fill online in the submission system. And the submission system you find on the Funding and Tenders portal. The part B is the technical content of the proposal. And here we use the application form, part B, the Microsoft Word file, which is embedded as well in the submission system. And on top of that, we have the annexes that are, for instance, the detailed budget. It's an Excel file that we ask you to fill. We have the specific Annex 5, including the profiles, qualifications, and experiences of the proposed staff. But therein, we also have, for instance, the planned outcomes of the project per intermediary organization, and for the project as a whole, we have periodic objectives. And we also give you the information on which information you should include, in fact, in the application form, part B. So the one that is standardized, which is available in the submission system. In Annex 5, we also ask, for instance, about the impact indicators to fill it in that document itself. So again, this is very important that you read very thoroughly that Annex 5 available on the EYEJR website, where to fill what and to submit it in the end. We have then the list of previous projects as part of the application form part B. It's at the very end. You just give us little overview of the projects that you have implemented. We don't want any CVs, so please don't upload any CVs. We will not look at that. The part on how we assess the operational capacity will not be based on the CVs. It will be based on the template we provide, where we ask you clearly to identify qualifications and experience. Short, to the point, but meaningful. And then let's go on. There we have it. When we look into the standardized application form part B, again, what I said is they are complementary, and both together they can only make a good proposal. If one of them are missing, you miss out on a big part of the content of the proposal, and your proposal cannot be financed. This is impossible. So how do you distinguish which information goes where? There are at the end of the call text, there is a section dealing with the specifications on what to put where. Usually you don't find that in other single market program calls for proposals, but SI is very specific in what we ask you to deliver. We have developed this part at the very end, and it tells you clearly where to put which information in Annex 5 or in the standardized application form, Part B. Please respect it, and then if you read it carefully, I think you're set to fill the data completely. Next one. All right, so if there is still a doubt, this slide should eliminate it. Again, application form Part B is composed of two forms. The one that is the technical description, the standardized template embedded in the submission system. You download it from the submission system. It's nowhere else available. You fill it and you upload it as a PDF. And the Annex 5, it is eye-specific and is an additional document that you do not find in the submission system. It is only available on the website, on the call website of the agency, of the EYEJR. So please download the Word file there, fill it, respect all the instructions that are given in that document, and then you upload it as a PDF. And this now is very important. You upload it as a PDF under the section in the submission system, of course, because you have only one place to upload things. There's one part which is called Other Annexes. Create a PDF and upload it under Other Annexes. And here one thing is very important. If you don't do it, the system will not block you from submitting it. But yet, this Annex 5, if it's not submitted, you breach what we ask for, because this Annex 5 is a mandatory document to be submitted. So please be aware of that. Again, you see here on the right side, the call section 14, giving you all the specific instructions on which section to fill in which part of the documents. So in a nutshell, these two documents, the standardized application form Part B available in the submission system for download, is the basic document, and the Annex 5 is the very specific one tailored to EYE, which is not available in the submission system and which you fill and upload in the submission system once it is ready. These two together make an application, at least the technical description, complete. Let's go on. That's it, basically. So if you have any questions, non-technical questions, so not any questions that are related to the submission platform, but to the call, such as eligibility, etc., please first read the call text, read the FAQs that already have been published. If there is no answer to that, use this functional mailbox, EYEJR SMP-COSME inquiries at ec.europa.eu. We're checking it very regularly. And if you have technical questions, please use directly the contact form, which is available at the Funding and Tenders Opportunities portal, because we can't help you. If there's anything wrong after you had created the EU login, that you had registered your organization, you got your PIC, your personal identification number, and still there's a technical thing, please contact the professional IT team directly. It's completely out of our hand. That was it from my side. In the end, this is not rocket science, but you have to respect quite some rules in order to submit a decent proposal. And I wish you a lucky hand in that. And with that, I hand over again to Daniel. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much, Ralph, for the detailed presentation. I think it was very, very clear and illustrative. You may have noticed that we have started publishing the first questions received from you in Slido. And of course, you can continue submitting further questions until the end of the session. But please also check what has already been published, because perhaps you can find the same question there. Keep in mind that the questions with more likes go up in the tool. And since this attracted more interest, we will try to answer those first. So if you deem that one question is important, please like them in Slido. Now we are still we are a bit behind the schedule. We will still do the comfort break, 5 minutes. So we will come back to the session. Hello, welcome back to the info session. Now we are going to move to the next presentation, which is about how to register your organization in the Funding and Tenders portal. And for that, we have our colleague Elin Zidshimov, who is a legal and financial advisor from the REA Research Executive Agency Central Validation Service. Elin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniel. Good morning, everyone. Yes, as Daniel said, in today's presentation, we will focus on the registering your organization and obtaining personal identification code or a PIC number. But on the next slide, you see the whole outline and what else will be mentioned as well. Firstly, I will start with a brief explanation of the activities of the Central Validation Service. Then we will look into the actual registration of and obtaining a PIC number at the proposal stage. We will then look into the process of legal validation, and you will see what documents, what does it mean, and what documents you would be expected to submit for that. I will mention the importance of the correct communication channel when it comes to the validation process and how to communicate with the Central Validation Service. And in the end of the presentation, you will see you received very useful guidelines documents in the form of hyperlinks. So let's dive directly into the presentation and start with our main activities. Firstly, I will start with the fact that we are responsible for the verification of the legal existence and legal status of entities. So in this case, we need to verify, to be sure that your entity is currently existing. And under what legal status? Is it private or public? Is it a type of association or some kind of company? Then we validate the appointment of the legal entity appointed representative, the person who will represent your entity in the matters linked to the EU. Then we also validate any legal changes that might have occurred once the entity has been already validated. We assess the so-called universal takeovers or universal transfer of right and obligation of validated entities. We encode the bank account when this is necessary and prepare financial capacity assessment. And for specific programs, we perform the ownership control assessments. We are also responsible for the ex post status verification. For example, this is the SME and mid-cap status check. So that is in brief some of the main activities of the Central Validation Service. But let's go now into the core of today's presentation, which is the registration of your organization. Again, I will mention here that this is at the proposal stage. So at the proposal stage, you do not need to have your PIC validated. You just need to have it registered. And in this screenshot, you see it's taken from the participant register, and you will see it once you start. You have the two options to search for a PIC. Your organization might already have one. Even someone else might have already registered it. And the other option is to register it a new PIC, like to start from scratch. And this is what we will see in today's presentation. On the next slide, you will see a screenshot from the so-called online wizard, in which you will follow step-by-step registration, which start with the identification, in which you put the basic legal data such as the name of your organization, VAT number, and the system will again double check whether your entity already has a PIC number. On the next step, you add additional organization data, more legal information. Then you have in the fourth step the authorized users. So I would like to highlight the importance of this step, because the person who will be registering the PIC might, by the time the time for signature comes, this person might for some reason not have access to their email and so on. So it's good to have someone, a backup person to complete the process of validation, and therefore it's good to indicate someone here, an authorized user. And with the last step, the registration is completed and you receive your new participant identification code in a declared status, which is the necessary one to submit your proposal. Now on the next slide, this is the whole validation process overview. We are going to the next step after you have registered a PIC. Your PIC comes the time when it needs to be validated. So let's see what does this mean. On the next slide, please. So again, as said, already the validation it's necessary only once the time for signature of the grant agreement or a contract comes. So yes, this will come at a later stage for you. The advantage of this process is that it's done only once. And this is when you need to sign your first grant agreement or a contract. And in the future, you don't need to perform all these actions again. Only if there are some certain changes, then you need to introduce them in the participant register and will intervene again. Another thing is that this is a process that is the same for everyone. So it's always performed on the basis of the supporting documents that the entities provide. And it's in accordance with the EU financial regulation and the specific rules on legal entity validation, legal appointment, and financial capacity assessment for EU grants and tenders. In the end of the presentation, you have hyperlinks to this. This is a document that contains the main information that you might need with regards to the validation of your entity. And if you have any questions, I would advise you first to look at this document, because it's likely that you will find the answer there. Now, on the next slide, I would like to show you what kind of documents you need to expect to be requested with regards to the validation. First, it's the legal entity form. This is a template to be completed, dated, stamped if you have one, and signed. It's depending on the type of entity. Again, if it's a private, public, natural person, the legal form it's specific. A VAT extract not older than 1 year, and if not registered for VAT, a proof of VAT exemption. The same for the registration extract. We need a new one, not older than 1 year, so we are sure that your entity is currently existing. This is for private law bodies. For public law bodies, we need the law, decree, decision, or other type of document with which the entity is established. For the international organization, these are the treaties. And if you're a non-profit organization, we will most probably request the statutes, because this is the document where the non-distribution of profit is usually specified. Now let's see on the next slide. I come to the point that I mentioned in the beginning about the communication. Please note that you receive emails from Central Validation Service, but these are notification emails. To communicate with us, you need to log in the participant register and use the messaging functionality there. and try always to, with regards to the validation process, to use this functionality, because your message reaches exactly the case handler who is dealing with the validation of your entity at the moment. We are a unit of many people, and we perform many validations at a time. So it's the best person to answer your question is the one who stays behind the participant register, and in your case, via the messaging function. Now, on the next slide, it's I would like to here to highlight something that is sometimes you might have lost access to your PIC number. There is a specific period between the submission and the signature, or your PIC might have been registered some time ago. So there are two possible scenarios. If you have a PIC number that it's declared, so it's not validated yet, and you have lost access to this PIC, meaning the self-registrant who registered it has left the organization already, and there is no authorized user who is appointed, what you need to do in order to obtain access to your PIC, it's actually to register a new PIC and inform Central Validation Service about this. Then we are going to merge the two PICs and leave active only the one you have access to. The second possible scenario is if you identify that your organization has an already valid PIC, but the LEAR, the legal entity appointed representative, it's not available anymore. There are no account administrators who have access to the PIC. So actually a new LEAR needs to be appointed. And for this, we have a specific procedure, which is called LEAR recovery procedure. And it follows again a step-by-step wizard that is accessible via this hyperlink that you see on the screen. And now we can go towards the end of our presentation. These are the most important guidance documents that will help you with anything linked to the validation of your entity, and also it gives you access to the help desks that will be able to answer any of your questions. Now, if you have any questions, as the colleagues mentioned, please publish them in Slido, and I will be happy to help you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed, Elin. So we will move to the next presentation, which is on financial issues on the call. It will be presented by our colleague Alain Esconians, Financial Officer at ESMEA. You are still able to continue posting questions in Slido, and we will reply. We have the question and answer session just after the Alain presentation. Alain, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. I hope you can hear me. My name is Alain Esconians. I am Financial Officer in Operational Finance Sector C12, and I'm very happy to make you today this presentation about the financial provision of the core. Next slide, please. Thank you. We will. I will mainly today focus on the budget that you will have to produce in order to declare all the costs that should be eligible for this call. So there will be, as already told by my colleague Ralph, there are two main forms. The form part A and the form part B. The form part A is a general administrative form with administrative content, and in this form you will have to you will have to fill in a summary budget, very simple, with the different cost category that I will talk about a bit later. In parallel, you will have the form part B. And to this form part B, which is more technical, which has more technical content, and you will have an annex to this form part B, which is the detailed budget table. So as for the others document, you will have to fill in this document online. This document is an Excel sheet with different subsheets. And you will see, so normally there are 5 subsheets, one with instructions, one with the general data that you will have to fill in, the number of your grant, the name of your grant, very general information. But then you will have to submit the 3 other sheets, which are more detailed and which will give us really the details of your budget. Next slide, please. So the first sheet is the sheet number 3, which is for us the most important one, and for you also, of course. It is the one which will go into detail about the different cost categories. So you see it is presented like a normal Excel sheet, and you will have to fill in different cells. Generally, the cells which are in white will have to be manually encoded. The cells in blue will be automatic cells which will make the automatic calculation. So you will be asked for each cost category to declare per work package the different cost item per item. So it will be a list of respective items. You can only list each item only once. You can only declare eligible cost. This sounds, of course, evident, but it's always good to remind you. And you have to list each cost in its main work package section. We are here talking about budget. So budget means that you have to make estimations. So of course you will never be able to make a budget super precisely, very close to a cent. But you have, of course, to be rational and to make your best estimates. So as already said, you will see that there are fields that you will have to enter manually. You will have to enter the data manually, and fields, blue cells, which will automatically calculate the formula to have the subtotals and the totals of your budget. So this is the main sheets, I would say, that you will have to fill in. Then next slide, please. Then you will have what is called a consolidated table per participant. This is the sheet number 4. In this table, you don't have anything to do. It is, as you can see here, maybe on the template, it's not so big, but it's only about blue cells. So the table will automatically calculate will automatically sum up the figures that you already have entered in the previous sheets on the sheet 3, and it will give us an image of a consolidation per participant. And then you have the third one, the last but not least sheet, which is the sheet 5, which is a consolidated table for the entire project, where we will have the cost for all the participants of the consortium, which will be consolidated. And this table will have to be filled in by the coordinator himself. This is a kind of double check that will allow the coordinator to see that the figures are well matching, that the respective figures entered are well matching also the global budget in details. Next slide, please. So what are those famous different cost categories? We have 5 main cost categories. The cost category A, the personal cost. Then the cost category B, the subcontracting cost. The cost category C, the purchase cost. Under this cost category, you will have in fact 3 sub categories, which are the travel cost together with the accommodation and subsistence cost. A second subcategory, which will be the equipment cost, and a last one, which will be the other cost for goods, works, and services. Then the most important cost category, we have already talked a lot about it, is the cost category D, or the cost category which include, of course, the FSTP, the financial support to third parties, And the last cost category, the cost category E, are the indirect costs. I will of course a bit detail all these costs now in the next slides. On the other hand, you have also what we call the project income. Well, all those 5 cost categories are what we call the EU contribution, but in parallel of this EU contribution, you can have in some cases revenues and contribution which are given by third parties. And you can also, if you don't have enough funds from all those revenues and contribution, you can also use your own resources. Those revenue and contribution and own resources will have also to be mentioned in the detailed budget table. But of course, those revenue and own resources will not be refunded by us because they are not part of the EU contribution. Next slide, please. Let's start by with the first category, the category A, the personnel costs. We have 4 types of personnel costs. The most common is, of course, the cost regarding the employees. So here we are talking about persons who have a normal employment contract. This is the most common, of course, cost category. What is eligible for those costs? The raw salary, of course, but also the social security contribution and all taxes and other costs which are linked to the remuneration and which are also, of course, related to the national law or the employment contract. What we will ask you to do at the proposal stage is to use monthly rate for each person who will work on the action. I say normally the rule is to use monthly rate, but what you will see in a later stage, in a few months after, when you will arrive at the interim reporting and also later at the final report, that you will have to declare your personal costs with daily rates. So that's why I would personally, I would already advise you, if possible, to budget the personal costs using daily rates. You are not obliged, but I think this is something which would be more easier for you to manage, because anyway, at the next steps, the interim payment and the final payment, you will be requested to use daily rate. So what is the daily rate? The daily rate is easily calculated by dividing the annual personal cost for the person divided by 215 days. So this number of 215 days is very important, because you will not be able, for a full-time, of course, for someone working full-time on the action, of course, you will not be able to declare more than 250 days. This is the maximum. So it's very good to keep this in mind. Second subcategory of the personal costs is the category the category A2 and A3. So the natural persons under a direct contract and the second persons under direct contract also. Here we are talking from one side about natural person, so meaning a civil person, a freelance, or an expert in some of course activity which is linked directly to the actions. And for the second person, we are talking mainly about persons which are put at the disposal of the beneficiary, at your disposal, and they are put at your disposal by a third party, which is generally, for example, an outsourcing company, will put those persons at your disposal through a direct contract. For those 2 categories, what is important is that they respect a few conditions, which are also mentioned in the grant agreement. First of all, those persons have to work under similar conditions as employee, so as normal employee, meaning that they will be supervised by the same person, they will work in the same premises, or at work if, of course, the teleworking is foreseen in the contracts. Those costs, second condition, those costs have to, shouldn't be significantly different from those for the personnel performing the similar task. and the work result should still belong to the beneficiaries. So these are mainly the three main conditions which has to be respected in order to those costs to be considered as eligible. Next slide, please. There is a fourth personnel cost category, which is called the category A4, and which concerns SME owners and natural persons who are not receiving any salary. For this category, we will use unit costs, and those the unit cost which will be used is the daily rate, meaning so you will have to declare the number of days that those persons will work on the action, and this will give you an amount. This amount can be calculated according to a formula. It's a bit small here, but normally all the details you will find the details in the Annex 2A of the grant, but also in the Commission decision. So, which is also the Commission decision, which will take place in the Annex 2A. Just to give you an example, normally we start the formula is this one. You have a fixed amount. In this case, for the moment, it is 5,080 euro per month. We divide this amount per 18 working days per month, and we have an amount which is more or less 282 euros. And this amount you will need. So this is an amount per day, and this amount will need to be adapted according to your your country, in fact. So there are specific different coefficients per country that will allow you to calculate precisely the daily rate which you will be able to declare for those persons in this cost category. Next slide, please. Here, just to have a general view of this Excel sheet regarding the personnel costs, you see it's a normal sheet with rows and columns. On the left, from the left, if we start from the left, you will have to declare the different types of person working for different types of contracts which are running for this cost category. So starting by the employees, and if any, natural person on the direct contract and second person, or SME owners and natural person beneficiaries without salaries. As I told you, normally you will basically you should normally declare a monthly rate, but as you can see, it can be monthly rate or other, and it could be also a daily rate which will be used. So the rate will be indicated in the next column, and the number of months or days will be also indicated, and automatically the total of cost declared will be calculated. Please also don't forget to fill in as much as possible the other columns. You will be asked if the respective person declare are working on other work packages. So you can have a person working only on work package 1, but you can have a person working on different on the different work package at the same time. In the last column, also please describe very shortly. You don't need to go in too much detail, but at least that we have an idea what is the description of the job. And what is the role and activities and responsibilities of the respective person. Next slide, please. The second main cost category is the subcontracting cost. So this is, we are talking here about purchase of goods, works and services, but which are really, I insist, really linked to the implementation of the action itself. So it's really specific. Those costs are quite limited. They cannot go about core task, specific tasks of the action. They can only be declared for the work package 2. This is very important also, and only for the promotion of the program, not for the recruitment of entrepreneurs. So this is quite important. This cost category to be honest, it's not so often used in I project, but it can happen that for some reason you need to you have the possibility in order to help for the promotion of the program to make appeal to third parties, to subcontractors. This cost should normally be limited to a maximum of 30% of the maximum grant amount, which is quite a lot already, and must be justified in the application. If you go above, which I think it would not happen, but if it goes above, yeah, you should really have a good argument to let it accepted. What is also important to mention for subcontracting cost is that you have to use the best value for money or the lowest price. So according to your internal policy, you will have to generate to open the market to different providers or to different subcontractors in order to have the best value for money or the lowest price. And you of course have to respect in that cases the conflict of interest. No, there shouldn't be any conflict of interest. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is just for showing you also the fact that in the application form, so the application form B, the technical description, you will be also asked to give a small description of your respective subcontracting cost, if any. Next slide, please. Thank you. Then we have the next cost category, which is the purchase cost. In this cost, as I already mentioned, there are three subcategories. The first one are the travel cost and related subsistence and allowances. Sorry, the related subsistence and accommodation allowances. The equipment cost and the cost of other goods, works, and services. Let's start with the first cost category, which are the travel cost. Next slide, please. Those costs, it's important to mention that those costs, so the travel, the accommodation, and the subsistence, have to be budgeted only for the personnel working on the actions. So you cannot use those costs for people who are for a reason or another outside the consortium and who will, for example, just be a participant to a travel or another. No, those costs are really covering the personnel cost, so the staff working on the action, so the staff of the different beneficiaries. Here, what is also specific to this cost category, you will have to budget them using the unit cost. So this is something which is which started to be used in 2021, and this is managed by a commission decision, which is a commission decision number 35, which was also amended in 2023. So this commission decision allow you to use different unit costs according to the travel you will make. I will try to give you an example. Well, of course, I will not have enough time to go into all the details of, about this commission decision. What I can only advise you is, as soon as possible, is to read it. It's a 20 pages document. It's not so much, but it's very well detailed, and it will give you all the solutions, all the tips in order to fill in correctly those unit costs. What you will also see on our web page, on our website, sorry, it is what we call a flight and rail calculator. So it is an application that will allow you to encode your destination and your departure, and to have a quite precise distance between both. And based on this, you will be able to easily also calculate your unit cost. If we let's go maybe to the next. Yes, sorry. I forgot to say also that here you will receive also, of course, this presentation, and you see though in blue there are two links, and these links are working, of course, and will enable you to go directly to the documents with the details. For example, if we go to the next slide. how does it appear in the detailed budget table? You see that for each travel, so you will have to declare each travel will be relevant for the action. And you have, again, different columns. What we see here is that I was just talking now about unit cost, but we see that there is still a column foreseen for declaring actual cost. It is indeed, it can be in some very few cases that you should declare actual cost, because there should be cases where which are not covered by the Commission decision. The Commission decision is mainly dealing with distance which are going from 50 kilometers. This is normally the minimum distance which is covered by the Commission decision. And this distance then can go in the first range up to 400 kilometers. For this range, we are mainly in the cost category where you can travel by car or travel by train. But then you can go in a range which is higher in distance from 400 kilometers until up to whatever number of kilometers, which is more a range which will be used for traveling by flight and by plane, sorry, and by train. So generally, so as I told you, in some cases, very few cases, you would have to declare actual cost for distance which are very short. So for distance which are lower than 50 kilometers. For the rest, you will have to use unit cost. For the travel cost, the unit cost, the unit, if I may say, is the person. So if one person is traveling, you will use one unit cost. If two persons are traveling, you will use two unit cost. So, for example, let's imagine that a person has to go from France, from Nice, for example, in the south of France, and has to go to Brussels for whatever meeting related to this grant, to this call. Sorry. If I go on the calculator for the distance calculator, and I type the destination Brussels from departure from Nice, the application will give me a distance of 823 kilometers. So once I have this distance, I will go into the Commission decision and I will see where I am. And I see that there are different distance bands in kilometer, which are proposed. And for each range, I can receive a unit cost, which is specific to the distance. And I see that my distance is, in fact, included between 801 and 1,200 kilometers. And in the table, which is given by the Commission decision, it gives me a unit cost per return trip of 276 euro. This means that if we take one person for this traveling, this one person for the return trip, so I insist it is a return trip, so it's the fact that this person will leave from Nice, take the plane, will arrive in Brussels, and then after the meeting will come back. And we'll come back, and so this is considered as one travel. So it goes and it comes back. So for one person, he will be able to declare as a travel cost 276 euro. If you have 3 persons traveling, you will declare 2 or 3 times this unit cost. So this unit cost is valid per person. This is quite. It can seem quite evident, but sometimes we can have some problem for declaration. If now we talk about the accommodation costs are covering, of course, costs like the hotel cost when we have to stay in an hotel. So the unit cost for this category is the unit cost which is used is the number of nights. If this person coming from France to Brussels will stay 3 days in Brussels, meaning he will have to spend 2 nights in Brussels, this person will have to declare 2 unit costs, because the unit cost is the unit cost itself is 1 night. So 2 nights in Brussels, 2 unit costs will have to be declared. If I go to the Commission decision, No, sorry, I cannot show it the document here because it's technically it's a bit difficult. But if I go to the part regarding the accommodation and the subsistence, I see that in for Belgium the accommodation cost per unit is 137 euro. So this person will be able to declare 2 times 137 euro for his stay in Brussels. Regarding the subsistence, so this is more covering, so this is the third subcategory of the travel cost. For the subsistence cost, the unit cost that will be used is the daily rate. So meaning, if this person stays, as I just mentioned, 3 days in Brussels, he will be able to declare 3 unit costs. And when I look in the Commission decision, in the table of the decision, I see that the subsistence cost, so the daily rate per day in Belgium, is 102 euros. So this person will be able to declare 3 times 102 euros. Sorry. Voilà, this is a bit a practical example. You will have to make this for all the travel, respectively, all the travel that you are planning to make during the action. And normally, the goal of this unit cost is really to relieve you, to make things easier. Generally, it is the case. It is easier from your side, but also easier for us to check. But yes, sometimes there can be a bit tricky cases, but this has to be, of course, be analyzed case by case with your project officer or with your financial officer. This can happen. But generally, please take the time to read this Commission decision, whose link is in this presentation, and it's very well, I think, described, well written, and it will really help you to fill in your detailed budget table for this cost category. Next slide, please. The next cost category on the purchase cost is the equipment. For this cost category, to be honest, is not very often either used in this type of core. But it's good to know that for a reason or another, you can declare equipment cost for new or second-hand stuff. I think, of course, about the computer which will be needed for the action. If this is the case, and if you have specific depreciation rules, you have to apply them in order to only declare the actual cost of this equipment, but always according to the depreciation rules that are running in your country. Next slide, please. Then we have the other costs for goods, works, and services, which is the third and last category under the purchase cost. Those costs are costs which are not directly linked to the action, so they are not linked to the core part of the actions, but they are needed in order to help you, in order to support the actions. So we are talking here about catering cost, meeting room rent for meetings, for rooms to rent for meetings, sorry. For example, the printing of leaflets, consumables, cartridges, supplies, dissemination of the information, translation, publications. Also, in some cases, when your requested EU grant amount will be higher than a certain amount, which is 325,000 euro, you will be requested to provide a CFS, which is a certificate of the financial statement. In that case, the cost, so it is a statement, a certificate which will be produced by an external auditor. If you have these cases, the cost for this for the production of this certificate will also be eligible under this cost category. As well as for the subcontracting cost, you have to use your internal policy rules in order to choose the best value for money or the lowest price in order to choose the providers for those costs. Next slide, please. Then we arrive at the most important, for certainly for you, cost category. Bon, my colleague Ralph and my other colleagues also have already talked quite a lot about this cost category. So this is, of course, the financial support to third parties. As already said, this is an assistance to pay the new entrepreneurs. This cost will mainly be used in order to cover the cost of the new entrepreneur regarding the travel, the accommodation, the subsistence, and other miscellaneous expenses occurred during a stay with the host entrepreneur in another participating country. So those costs, of course, have nothing to do with the travel cost I've talked just a bit before, which were only linked to, which were only valid for people working in the consortium. So those costs are really here only for covering all the expenses related to which are made by the new entrepreneurs. As already also mentioned, the FSTP, it's not the FTSP, it's FSTP, sorry, cost will be reimbursed at 100%, and they should be at least cover 50% of the estimated maximum grant amount per project. So it's really the most important cost category of your grant. Next slide, please. So, as well as for other cost category that I already mentioned, like SME owners not receiving a salary, like also travel costs for the staff, the financial support to third party, as already mentioned, will also use unit costs, which will be defined per country and on a monthly basis in the mentioned Annex 2A. So there will be an amount defined per month while staying in the abroad country. As already also mentioned several times, the minimum duration of an exchange is 1 month, and the maximum is 6 months in high unit cost per third party new entrepreneur. And of course, the maximum amount per third party will be defined per host country according to different amount of unit cost. But the unit cost is the monthly allowance, which will be paid to the new entrepreneur. Next slide, please. Thank you. Yes, this is just a quick view on the Annex 5, where you should also mainly fill in all the budget related to the number of relationships that you will create, that you expect to create it, the number of relationship between the new entrepreneurs and host entrepreneurs. This will have to be filled in this famous Annex 5 to the form Part B, so this technical description of the project. But I think it was already quite well described by my colleague Ralph. Next slide, please. So the last but not least main cost category are the indirect costs. Those costs are quite easy to calculate because you don't have to calculate them. They will be automatically calculated by the system, and they consist of a 7% flat rate, meaning that the system will sum up all your personnel costs, subcontracting costs, purchase costs, and other costs, so meaning the FSTP, will calculate 7% of this cost, and it will give you a flat amount, which will be automatically calculated. So it means that those costs are not not directly linked to the action implementation, but are of course useful. This could be, for example, stationery, some consumables. For example, also the rent of an office. It can also cover utilities like electricity, gas, water consumptions, things like this. So for this cost, we will not ask you any breakdown. We will not ask you any details. Those costs will be allowed to you automatically based on a flat rate of 7% on all the direct costs declared. Sorry. Next slide, please. I have already a bit talked about this. Just it's always good to know about the project project income. As already mentioned also by my colleague Ralph, the EU contribution will be 100% for financial support to third party, which is, as already told, which is really the most important cost category of your grant, because it is really related to the core to the core of the action. And for the other costs that you will declare, all the other eligible costs that you will declare, the co-funding rate will be lesser. I will not say only, because it's quite important. It will be at least 70. It will be 75%. As already mentioned, if you foresee to have revenues or contribution by third parties, you are welcome also to mention them in the detailed budget table. Income which could be generated by the action could be direct revenue or receipts. For example, if you make a conference which is linked to the actions and you ask the participant to pay a fee. If you sell books during an event, things like this, can be considered as income and should be also declared in the part project income in the detailed budget table. Also, financial contribution from third parties should be declared, and also, as already mentioned, your own resources your own contribution to the project. Covering the part which is not covered by the EU contribution should also be mentioned in the detailed budget table. Next slide, please. We are almost finished now. I think it's the last slide. What about the payment arrangement? Ralph also told you about the fact that at the moment of the signature of your grant, you will receive in the 30 days from the entry into force, or in the 10 days before the starting date of the project, you will receive 50% pre-financing payment, which 50% of the maximum grant amount which will be allocated to your grant. The project will last 3 years, meaning also that there will be the middle of the project after 18 months. There will be an interim payment, which will be, of course, based and calculated according to the cost that will be incurred during the first part of the project. So, as already mentioned by Ralph, you really have to make a distinction between the pre-financing payment and the interim payment, because the pre-financing payment, it's really a kind of flow which will give it to you in order to start in good condition your project. But then we will make a first check of what was done during the first period, and according to the cost actually incurred, we will make a first interim payment, which will then be followed by a final payment 18 months later. So at the end of the 3 years, and where we will pay the balance based on the final financial report approval at the end of your grant. What is also good to know is that all payments will be made by the agency only to the coordinator, who will then make the distribution to the different beneficiaries of the consortium. Voilà. So next slide. I think that's it. Voilà. Thanks a lot for your patience and for listening to my presentation. I give you back the floor.
Thank you very much, Alain, for the very detailed and informative presentation. I mention again that the session will be recorded and it will be published in the Funding and Tenders portal in the section called Call Updates, and also in the SMEA website. So if you need some clarifications on these very detailed financial issues, you can find it there. Now we move to your questions. So okay, this is what we have received through Slido. Are there ways to find? I ask my colleagues Alain, Artur, Elin, Katerina, and Ralph perhaps to switch on their cameras to participate in the Q&A session. Okay, perfect. So the first question we have is, are there ways to find partners for the application? Well, in the Funding Intenders portal, actually, there is a section called when you go to the call of the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs Junior call, there is one section called Partner Search Announcements. So you can use that section, of course, to look for new partners. But perhaps my colleagues want to complement. Ralph.
Yes, with pleasure. In fact, when you go exactly to the Funding Intenders portal, to the section that Daniel just mentioned, you see that 24 entities already registered their interest. So you have already a pool of people who tell you online that they're interested in creating an international team. So maybe there's someone in there. If you're not there yet, encode your organization and you're part of that group that can team up. There's no other tool that beyond that we would otherwise provide. However, you have, in addition, on the call website of the agency, so not the Funding Intenders portal, but the EYEJR website of this call, you have at the very bottom an additional source of valuable information. This is a list of all intermediary organizations that ever participated in EYE. And that gives you an idea about who has got how much experience in implementing projects. For instance, you find one organization named or listed 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So that indicates you that this is someone who must have had a certain experience. You might use that as well as an additional information in order to create a consortium.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, we have answered a second question about the matching platform. So now we go to the question for global destinations. We only need to support the monthly stay, but what about the travel? Ralph?
I think I take it. Yeah. Indeed, so the ones who have been implementing the pilot and preparatory action, as Ralph mentioned, they've seen that there was actually two amounts, one for monthly allowance, one for travel. We have decided to simplify, and indeed there is only one cost which includes both. You may also see that it has substantially increased from the original one. So there is only one unit cost for destinations outside of Europe, which is the same case in Europe.
As the consortium might consist of IOs and first-timers, do you have any golden rule about how to form balanced consortium? Any takers?
I take that one, Daniel. Thank you very much. It's a very good question for someone who thinks about creating a consortium. The simple answer is you need to find good and committed partners. That's the main thing. It must be a transnational consortium. So you need to comply with the call requirements, meaning, for instance, only 2 partners from the same country and maximum, minimum, etc. So what does it make it balance? I think it makes it what makes it balance if you can demonstrate in your narrative that the organizations that team up in a consortium, they are complementary and working towards the same objective. That is the answer. And each project differs from another one. We do not have projects of the same nature among all the projects that we finance.
So next question is minimum 150 entrepreneurs for one proposal. Does this mean 75 new entrepreneurs and 75 host entrepreneurs, and it comes to 150 or 150 matches?
I'll take that one. It's very simple. Make your SWOT analysis and you focus on what you can serve best. You can have more NEs among the 150 than HEs. That would be usually what projects would do. But you can also have for 1 or 2 organizations, for instance, a very heavy focus on HEs. That depends also a little bit where these organizations come from. The program statistics and experience show us that there are a number of countries that are more prone to providing host entrepreneurs, and there are some other countries that are clearly more providing new entrepreneurs, so sending countries. This is a little bit up to you to find out, but keep in mind one thing. In order to match NEs, you need HEs. The HEs are our tools in order to make Europe more entrepreneurial. And how do we want to do that? By creating businesses, and for that we need above all new entrepreneurs.
The lead coordinator must have 2 years of experience in implementing the Erasmus program. So first-time comers in Erasmus are only good as partners, right? Sounds logic, but I let you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct. Perfect. Can you specify which are the underrepresented countries, please?
Yes, I can take it. Okay.
Arthur, please. Yeah.
Yes, so you have them listed on page 9 in the footnote 12, but I will just quote them. It's Turkey, Republic of Moldova, France, Finland, Germany, Poland, and Sweden. Please note this is an option. This is not a must. We encourage to do it, but it is not absolutely the must that you include them. And they are underrepresented in a sense that we would expect that more entrepreneurs from this country would have participated in the program.
We need to add among those are Norway. I don't know, did you mention?
Yeah, no, indeed, yeah, Norway.
Yeah, Norway, because the first time in the program since many, many years of absence. So that's one additional country.
The next one on iGlobal countries has already been answered by Katerina. Yes. What kind of services can be subcontracted in Work Package 5? Is there a maximum amount? Alan, Ralph, yeah. Arthur,
I can take it. No, the maximum amount is clearly specified only for the all eligible costs and at the project level. So it's 30%. If it goes above 30%, it must be justified. But it is not linked with a specific budget for Work Package 5. And the Work Package 5, logically, we are looking for the organizations in the countries of non-SMP countries would help you in promoting the project, in recruiting the entrepreneurs, and then in follow-up. So more or less, these are 3 principal elements that we consider could be eligible for outsourcing, and it can be subcontracting in this very case.
Thank you, Arthur. We are in the program from several years and running a consortium as a coordinator. Is it the right call for us, or is it intended only for new intermediary organizations?
I think we were partly answering that already, that the coordinator must have a certain experience. So of course experienced IOs are welcome to be there. It is the right call for you in that sense, because also we want new IOs. So you must be then as an experienced partner, you must be actually willing to integrate the newcomers. That is a bit of an intense job in the first weeks and months. Be aware of that. But the purpose of this call is indeed actually to enrich the network by some new organizations as well. Having said that, the call is very specific on one point. If you are implementing right now, or at the moment of the start of the project, which is the 1st of February next year, if you are then implementing already 2 projects, you cannot apply now. It's not possible. We do not want that with the start of the project next year, you would have 3 projects running in parallel. That is not possible. So be aware of that at the start of the project, and it's a fixed starting date for everybody. You cannot implement more than 2 Erasmus projects at the same time.
I think next question is very related to this. I mean, how this junior call is different from the regular Erasmus call, in addition to what you have already mentioned.
I take this one because junior is new in the title in a way. That is just saying that we have a network of 150 intermediary organizations. About 100 of those, 110, are part of a bit bigger projects that have many years contract. And we are selecting here smaller projects in size, which is an equivalent in terms of junior. Yeah. So it's not like you join at a later stage in the current multi-annual perspective. And in that sense, being a smaller project of maximum 1 million grant, it's junior. That's it.
Thank you. Another one on the difference with the iGlobal pilot project. Can we pay the allowance of new entrepreneurs from another consortia that won't be hosted by an host entrepreneur from a non-EU country, such as the United States? Perhaps these ones will need some thinking and we can reply in writing. Okay, so
I would suggest indeed we come back to that
because
after
it's very specific, so it would
Yeah.
be better to be. I mean, all the questions will be published in the funding and tenders portal in the question and answer section. I insist on this. For the calculation of partners' budget, how do we calculate the amount requested for new entrepreneurs if we do not know which countries they will travel for the exchange?
Yeah, I can take it. So obviously you don't have to know at this very stage where exactly will you send all your NEs. So you have two options. Either you will calculate an average. So we will sum up. You may say, for example, your main targets countries are this, and this. You just take an average, you multiply by number of entrepreneurs, number of months, and you propose this figure. Or another option is you just propose several rates for several countries, and then you multiply by the number of NEs going there and by the duration. What we want to highlight is this is your estimation and no one will really execute it in the implementation stage. So you have a right to change the destination, you have the right to adjust the durations. This is really your estimation, but please use the comment box in the detailed budget to present your logics. So because it's better we understand that you, for example, took several rates, you calculate the average, you take an assumption that each relation will last 3 or 4 months, and this is the basis of our calculation. And this is very clear for us, and we will understand it thanks to this.
I would maybe like quickly to add that you remember what we said earlier, that a proposal comes with a consortium composition. So it means you team up because of some strengths of your organizations that you believe in. And this might define a little bit also the countries where you want to send your entrepreneurs to, or the countries of entrepreneurs where host entrepreneurs are available. This is one element that you could and should elaborate sufficiently to make it a good narrative and a convincing proposal.
I see that there are some questions related to non-SMP destinations like UK, US, Canada. So should the intermediate organization from these countries be from those countries or just organize the exchanges?
I think we have already partly answered it by saying that we are looking for organizations in the non-SMP destinations that can support exchanges, but they will not be IOs. We will not have them as part of our grants. That is impossible for legal reasons. We cannot. So this is why we say work package 5 is a new work package in Erasmus for Entrepreneurs, in which you can organize all the activities that are linked to matching European new entrepreneurs, so those from SMP countries, to go to global destinations or to these destinations that we call non-SMP. So in fact, we are not looking for full project partners from let's say Canada or the United States, but rather for projects that have a methodology on how to tap in and finding within their network of business partners organizations on the spot to help facilitating those matches.
And I think this answers not the next one, but well, okay, we go to the one that is highlighted. In the cases where the new entrepreneur comes from a country not covered by the consortium, who pays for the cost of this new entrepreneur when he goes or she goes outside the EU?
I can answer this. I mean, Ralph already touched upon. There are no new entrepreneurs from the international countries participating in this program. It's only host entrepreneurs which are not being co-financed. So to USA, Singapore, UK and Canada, only new entrepreneurs from the countries, SMP countries, can go. There is nobody coming from those countries to Europe.
Okay, very clear,
exchange.
Katerina.
I think that question touches also, if I may add on the question whether there is an IO in Europe ready to send an NE, but in their project they do not have an global IO or dealing with those exchanges. So be aware that these exchanges that we offer, they're available, or the new destinations outside Europe available from the project start of the projects financed under this call, so the 1st of February 2025. But then the destinations are available to all projects. This is a novelty. We're happy to have reached this, that we could build it in. So all ongoing projects from 1st of February next year will be actually able to match new entrepreneurs from SMP countries to global destinations. And then it should be the new entrepreneurs IO, what we call the NIO, who pays the match, who pays the exchange. I hope this is sufficiently answered. If not, please send us maybe a kind of via the portal a follow-up question.
Is there a list of companies that we can check and select? The grant is for host company and the monthly financial is for the young entrepreneur. Is it correct?
First of all, there is no list of companies because the program is not about companies. The program is about matching entrepreneurs, meaning in the sense of individuals. So this is why there is no company list available. In any case, those entrepreneurs that we want that a project should match, they do not have to be predefined at the stage of proposal submission. So you will see that when you implement a project, that you will need to do promotion campaign, you will need to organize events, etc., in order to recruit, to select those, to raise awareness among the people on the ground that this program is available, and only then you go into selecting the best applicants and then matching those.
Another one on the global host. I think this has been partially answered or totally answered, but Katerina, perhaps, how will the global host participate? Only IOs registered in cycle 15 will be able to be IOs for this host, or any active IO will be able to participate?
So as already mentioned by Ralph, and from the start of this project, which will be February next year, any new entrepreneur already in the database will be able to select and match with an entrepreneur in destination outside of Europe.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It is written in the call text that non-single market program exchanges are allowed and non-single market program countries can be partners. So working with them is subcontracting. How exactly does it work?
Well, yes, I can take it. Yeah, it was partially covered initially. So yes, indeed, for work package 5, subcontracting of the local organizations operating in these 4 non-SMP countries allowed. So normally you should explain this in the description of the work packages. In the application form, you have a row or part of the table, and you explain how these organizations will be selected, how you will approach them, and also in the detailed budget and in the overall budget, you have to encode information about the subcontracting levels. We can elaborate on this more on follow-up document. But in general, it is important that we understand, and it is also for the future checks and future audits, we understand the way how the subcontractors were selected, and whether all the transparency elements were secured in this case.
Thank you, Artur.
Maybe if I can maybe add, Daniel, because there were quite some questions on how this works with matching outside Europe, and I think what is important here is to underline that in the normal Erasmus, and here we talk about the normal call, every match that happens between entrepreneurs, so every relationship, every exchange that is created, it happens in a so-called IT tool. This is an IT tool developed and maintained by the European Commission. Every IO has to use it. It's a mandatory tool. The quality manual tells you everything about it. There's a specific situation now as regards host entrepreneurs in non-SMP destinations, because for legal reasons, organizations that operate in those countries and that are happy to match their host entrepreneurs, for instance, in the States or in Canada, to European NEs, they're not allowed to have access to this tool. The data can be processed only within the tool and only by European entities that have signed the grant with us. However, the projects, in order to facilitate those exchanges, they can find their own ways, obviously, of dealing with the data of individuals in order to match them. For this, the projects must ensure to have the authorization of the entrepreneurs to circulate the information between the partners concerned. So be aware, the host the consortium partners that will be contracted here for the new projects will need to manage to some extent the work in the tool on behalf of the partners in the US, Canada, Singapore, or the United Kingdom.
So next one, we are interested in participating as an intermediary organization. What is the process for us to become one? We are happy to join others in European partnership. So that's the whole point of this call for proposals. So Ralph,
That's the whole point of the event today. I
Yes.
hope you listen carefully, and this is the answer to the question.
No, so essentially, I mean, you have to submit an application in response to this call for proposal as part of a partnership. So this call for proposals is for selected intermediary organizations that subsequently will find the matches between the network of entrepreneurs. Yeah. So how do you protect, I understand, in terms of intellectual property, a submitted business idea? Katerina, would you like to?
Yes. I'm happy to take this one. So I mentioned that the application for new entrepreneur who wants to participate needs to include also business plan. And this is for us to check that the person is serious about starting a business or going on a business exchange. Now, the business plan is visible only to administrators, which is the Commission or eSubmission or the support office, and the new entrepreneur IO. It is not visible to any other entrepreneurs. It will not be visible to host entrepreneur. In the application, next to the downloading the business plan, you also have to give rough summary. So the summary will be visible to host entrepreneur. Now, if an entrepreneur then later on an exchange is worried that working on his business plan, on his idea with the host entrepreneur, there might be some issues, he can sign a non-disclosure agreement with the host, of course, and with the IO as well. Or if he really thinks this is very dangerous, we suggest that the new entrepreneur gets his idea patented and then only goes on an exchange. So these are the options we see.
So do you need as annex the commitment letters that we had with iGlobal support organizations?
No, we don't. We ask only for the mandatory documents to be submitted, nothing else. And when you submit, most likely also external experts will not regard them. So basically, if you have experience in running such projects, your narrative itself should be convincing enough. You don't need to back it up by any supporting documents.
Very clear. Is the total budget of the project, if the total budget of the project is less than 1 million, does it make the proposal ineligible? No. No, I don't know what.
No, for cost-effective reasons, if we can get 150 relationships for less than 1 million, we are happy to do that. It's taxpayers' money. So in fact, the call says that the estimated maximum grant is 1 million. So if you propose a grant that is below that, of course, that is not rendering you ineligible. Every project, every proposal reasoning has its cost structure. So I mean, I think stick to the call text and you're good.
But yeah, it's not ineligible, just to be clear. Yeah. Can a freelancer sole proprietorship be a member partner in an intermediate organization?
I can take it. So in principle, the call excludes natural persons from applying as a members of the consortia, but the exemption is made for the sole traders, where the company does not have legal personality separated from that of the natural person. So sole traders, they are eligible.
So if the organization is already registered in the portal because it participated in previous cycles, is it necessary to register again? The answer is no, but Eileen, you can confirm perhaps.
We explained this in one of the slides that you can participate in a PIC number that is already registered. The registration of a new PIC number it's needed if you have lost access to your declared PIC.
But if you have already participated in I, normally you don't need to register again.
Yes,
just use the PIC that you have. Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you. Will the host entrepreneurs from previously Erasmus Global Cycle be redistributed among the new consortia? Katerina, Ralph?
I can take this one. Yes, I can take this one. So obviously, since we don't have any global matches anymore, we had to eliminate those entrepreneurs from our database, not to have access to our entrepreneurs. We have put them on hold, and first of all, we will have to verify with them the wish to stay and further participate in the program once it will be possible. On the basis of that, the left HEs who will be willing to participate further will be redistributed.
Perhaps this one is for Alain. Subcontracted limited to 30% of the maximum grant amount or of the total cost of the project?
The subcontracting amount should be limited to 30% of the total eligible cost declared, meaning the total amount, 30% of the total amount declared before we apply the co-financing rate. So the 75% mainly and the 100% rate for the FSTP, but it's not 30% of the maximum grant amount.
Yeah, of the project, indeed. Thanks. So the subcontracting cost accepted under Work Package 5 refers only to promotional activities or also to recruitment of host entrepreneurs in non-single market program countries?
I think it was already partially covered. Only for Work Package 5, there is this exemption, and the subcontracting can go beyond promotional activities. So we would say recruitment and follow-up of the exchange can also qualify for this.
Could you please explain if the current consortia, so I understand from the 2021 call for proposals, will be able to send new entrepreneurs to non-SMP countries as of February 2025, or just the consortia participated in this junior call?
Any consortia participating in the program in February 25 will be able to send entrepreneurs to non-SMP countries. So also the ones who are already active now.
Okay. Thank you very much, Katerina. Very clear. Can other costs be used also for visa or other permission costs if necessary? Alain, perhaps this one for you.
For visa or other permission costs, this is a bit this should be analyzed case by case, I must say, but
perhaps we will reply this one in writing.
I think so, yes.
I think we can reply in writing, double checking
yes.
this, but our
This is
experience
more...
shows that our entrepreneurs who ask for instance, visa support letters, etc., we know from them obviously that they have costs that occur to them. This is usually not project costs as I see it today, but these are individual costs at the individual participant level, yes, which I think is normal. Someone wants to go abroad and simply has to bear the costs of a visa, but we're happy to relay this back as an information in writing.
Of course.
So for RLTs in non-SMP, we understand that NIOs will be in charge of preparation, signature of the agreement and the payment, isn't it? Someone that can understand all the acronyms, please.
Yeah, so maybe we should explain first
correct.
the acronyms. And then Katka, you say whether all this is correct or not. So the RLTs, it's not RTL, it's not the television service, it's RLTs, which stands for relationships. And this is the same as the exchange, basically. In non-SMP countries, means those outside Europe, we understand that the NIO, which is the Intermediary Organization responsible for the new entrepreneur, and that one will be in charge of preparation, signature of the agreement, which is a financial agreement that the organization has with the NE, payment modes, etc., and for the payments to the NE. Is this all correct, Katarzyna, or not?
That is correct.
It's correct. Okay, so we might take this for writing later, explaining the acronyms, and we keep it as it is.
Thank you. I work for GOP, a German company matching your apprentices in Rwanda with apprentices in Germany. Could Erasmus Plus support this project financially? Katerina or Ralph? Yeah.
Yeah, I think first, I mean, the answer is very simple. Erasmus for Entrepreneurs is not part of the Erasmus Plus program. It's a completely different EU funding program. And we are with Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs, although the name might suggest similarity, but we have a different legal base. It is the single market program. So the answer here is no.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is not the call for you. What does it mean the country participates in the SMP program, but only in the start for competitiveness of SMEs? Are they eligible to apply for this call? The answer is yes. I can answer directly. So the Erasmus is part of the strand competitiveness of SMEs. So indeed, you can apply for if your country is only in this strand, you can apply to this call. How can we distribute of our consortium for actual intermediate organizations versus new, fresh intermediate organizations? I think this has already been partially answered or totally answered. The balance between new and the former organizations. Yeah.
We can keep it simple. We can, when you read the call text, it stipulates experience. So I mean, actual IOs, new fresh IOs, actual IOs must be at coordinator level. All the others can be fresh ones. But keep in mind that all fresh ones, the majority fresh ones, need to have an intense training and learning curve at the very beginning, because it is a labor-intense program, very rewarding, but you will not understand everything on day one. Keep that in mind, and then you make your distribution of partners.
We have 4 more minutes until 45. Do you have information which countries see the grant as an income for the new entrepreneur?
Yeah, we don't have an exhaustive list, unfortunately. It is case by case, but we can sort of, when we reply to this question in the portal, we can give at least examples. Sometimes we are surprised to hear out of the sudden about new cases. Sometimes the situation changes. We also, with the support of Katarzyna and the team, we try to deal with that at the policy level in our committee meetings, that sometimes we have to raise this issue that these kind of monthly allowances should not be taxed. From country to country is also differently done. The percentage of taxation, the way that some countries reimburse the NEs at the end of the year, others don't do that. So it's a bit individual. We try to provide some examples when we do the answer in writing. It's a very good question.
This one, next one is for Elin. Is the financial capacity checked only for the lead applicant or for all the involved partners in the consortium? And how is this checked? By turnover from past year or bank guarantee?
Normally it is for the lead applicant, but this is to be checked in the specific program. So yeah, if we can answer this one as well additionally, if possible.
No, we can, Alan. Yeah.
Yes, if I may intervene, yes, normally for this call, there are clear rules. First of all, the financial capacity will not be checked for public institutions participating in as beneficiary. There is also a threshold of 60,000 euro for the EU request totalement per beneficiary. If the request totalement is lower than 60,000 euro, also there will be no financial capacity check. Sorry, and for the rest, normally what we request is you have to provide the two last P&Ls, so for the two last closed years, so your annual accounts, and based on this, the REA will make a deep check of your financial capacity, and this will be made based on the ratio checks, financial ratio checks. Voilà, this is in general what are the conditions.
This one we will include it in the question and answer in the portal. Okay. Are chambers of commerce eligible to participate in the project? Yes, indeed. I mean, they are typical organization that participates in the project, right, Ralph? Yeah. Only experienced partner can lead consortium. What to do in case if lead partner doesn't have sufficient financial capacity? Alain, perhaps this is one for you.
Oh yeah, only experienced partner can lead consortium in case if a lead partner doesn't have sufficient. Yes. Any other beneficiary can lead, can become the coordinator of the consortium, at least if his financial capacity is considered as sufficient. Yes, indeed.
Here we have the issue that we stipulate a minimum 2 years experience for the lead partner. So be aware of that. If in this very specific case, the lead partner does not have the sufficient financial capacity, we might propose a solution, but in general, compose your consortium in a way that someone can step in theory for another one. This is my advice.
Okay, perhaps we need to be closing, but okay, perhaps we can try to reply the ones that are left. What is most important when forming the consortium? To cover more territory or their experience? Are there some countries that you value more than others? Certainly not. But okay, Ralph, any reply on this? Yeah.
No, I would only reply along the lines of what the call says, that we encourage these and those entrepreneurs to be on board, and you must make your strategy how you get those on board. If you believe, for instance, that you want from underrepresented countries, we invite you to do that. They are listed in the call, which one we mean. But there is, as you can see from the award criteria, for instance, there is no specific criterion on that. They might be valued by our external experts as an additional feature complying well with the call, but it will not be the number one criteria to make your proposal stand out completely out of others.
I think we are receiving more and more questions. So
if I can add on this one, just one sentence. So indeed, there is no one pattern. So far, there are consortia with broader or smaller geographical coverage, and both types of consortia perform very well. But what is important in criterion 1, you have like 3 sub points, some guidance when we expect you to explain the setup of the consortium you are proposing. So please invest in this, because this is very important for us to understand your reasoning, why you are proposing such organizations, what are the access, etc. So this is quite important that you will go in the criteria and understand also the perspective of the evaluators when drafting your proposal.
I think it's we are 20 minutes behind the schedule, so perhaps it will be good to stop here the session, and the questions that are that we didn't answer yet, we will ensure that they are published shortly, the answer in the funding and tenders portal. So you have in your you will have in your screen the email address for contacting ESMEA on any question that you may have after today. Please send them there, and we will not react directly to your question, but we will publish in the Funding and Tenders portal in the section in the question and answer in the web page of the specific call in the Funding and Tenders portal under the call page, exactly. So we wish you every success, and thank you for connecting, and goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you very much for your interest.
Bye.